Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm super excited because I have with me today a guy that goes by the name of Captain Defi. And this guy works full time in cryptocurrency. He is not going to tell you where he lives. He's not going to tell you exactly what he does because a lot of these developers, a lot of these researchers, they just want to stay anonymous, all right? But this guy did write a serious article all about drip. And when I was in the middle of drip and doing this channel, I started to take notice about the article. I took notice of what this guy was saying. And so I'm actually going to show you guys right here. This is the article, and it says The Drip Network, a comprehensive tax sustainability model. I'm going to keep this article in the link in my description of this video so that you guys can read this on your own time. I mean, if you want to get deep, man alive, there's a lot of math going on here, and it's just for the people that are super skeptical. You want to know, is drip a Ponzi? What's going on with it? So that is going to be linked up. He wrote this, and I just want to ask him probably about 5 or 6 questions, and then you guys can let me know in the comments what you thought of the interview. Did you become convinced? Do you still think drip is stupid? Do you think it's a Ponzi? Where are you at? So right now, let's go ahead and welcome Captain Defi. Welcome, man.
Hi, great to be here. It's actually really nice to have another interview.
Yeah. So I see you have done a couple interviews and you actually started your own Discord. So we'll have to link that up as well. For people that want to talk, anything DeFi, or is it just drip?
It's really it's like all things drip. So it's the network central. It's like anything drip. I mean, I welcome anyone to talk animal farm, drip garden, just really anything Forex has touched.
Okay. So we're going to get going quickly here. I want to talk to Captain DeFi like I'm a complete newbie and I know nothing. So maybe you've heard about Drip. Maybe you stumbled across a website. Maybe you're in our Telegram group. That's how me and Captain DeFi met, is he joined our Telegram group and I saw, man, this guy's really adding a lot of value, and here we are. And so that's what I mean. There's so many people that are smarter than me in this space. And right here, months ago, I was introduced to this thing called Drip Network. And I came on this website and I was like, I like that the water moves. And so I don't know. I was just like, this looks kind of weird, but I decided I was sick of sitting on the sidelines when it came to my money. And I wanted to make passive income with an ROI every day. And so Drip promised to pay me a 1% ROI. I was super skeptical. And then when I found out that there was this like MLM component to it where you needed a buddy list, it made me go like, I'm not getting in. So I actually didn't get in till probably months later. I just kind of observed and watched people in it. And sure enough, the price just kept going up and to the right. And I just felt like I was on the sidelines. So I jumped in, and I didn't have all my answers, but reading articles from people like Captain DeFi and asking the questions, listening to AMAs from Forex, I became more convinced that this thing might not be some stupid rug pull. It might actually have some legitimacy to it. So what I want to do is just kind of ask Captain DeFi some basic questions, and I even put in our Telegram to submit some questions. So we got some from there, and we'll just see where this goes. So the first question is, Captain DeFi, how the heck does drip work? What is this? Like, I give money to this drip thing. I exchange my BNB, I get my drip, and then I go here to this faucet tab and I deposit drip into a faucet, and somehow it pays me 1%. Please explain what the heck is going on.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So with drip, you have the faucet, the 3 tabs. So you have the faucet, the fountain, which is swap, and the reservoir. So in the fountain, that's the native exchange, the native DEX. Where people can exchange BNB for drip. That's how you get into the token. The reservoir is less popular. It's more so individuals that can add liquidity to the network, and there's a little bit more that goes onto there. It uses drop. But then the biggest part is the faucet by far. This is the bread and butter of drip. This is what everyone wants in on. This is your 1% per day that you're earning, and it's extremely parallel to a certificate of deposit. So I mean, through this, players can add capital through the drip token and yield your 1% day return. Now, there's an entire tax ecosystem at play here, in regards to where that comes from. Nearly every transaction except buys on the native DEX, which is the swap, are taxed at 10%, and then you also have your hydration tax and the sell tax, the withdrawal tax. There's whole kit and caboodle of taxes here. And so these taxes are sent to the tax pool. And then, so for example, you put, 100 drip into the faucet. 90% of that's going to end up being recirculated. 10% is going to go back and get locked away out of circulation in the tax vault, and that's going to help pay out the 1% dividend, while that other 90% of your investment being recirculated is now free to earn more tax. Now, this is key, and I went over this more in depth in the article, but this is key on how we have accumulated such a massive tax pool right now. I think what we're sitting 57-56% right now on the entire network. A few days ago, it was, in the 60%. At the time of writing my article, you'll see the numbers use about a 69% stake, and that's just absolutely incredible.
So can you explain that part a bit? What are you talking about, a pool of money?
Yeah, so there's three main smart contracts in Drip, and the biggest one where your dividends are stored to be paid out is the tax pool. So that's a big wallet that holds all the tokens that were sent from tax, and that is withdrawn and sent into from new tax to pay out your dividend. So it's basically just a big bag of drip tokens, and that constantly gets added to and recurred on, and that's what's used to pay out. That's where everyone's 1% comes from.
So is that right now sitting in BUSD, or is that being invested making a yield?
So that pool right there sits and vaults merely in pure drip tokens. It's I think the current balance is 571,000 something drip tokens just sitting in that vault. And then you have other contracts like the Pancake Swap contract, which ties into the drip BUSD liquidity pool tokens and everything. And that around the whole ecosystem, that's where your money gets reinvested in a big part, into the fountain, and it gets redistributed through the entire network.
Okay. So one of the questions I have is, if a bunch of people, as this project has gone on, I think it's over 9 months old, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 9-10 months.
Yeah, I would think that near the end, more people would be, instead of hydrating, they might be claiming, because they're up in profits. Is that can so the pool, wouldn't it be depreciating a whole lot faster now than it was in the early days?
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're seeing right now. So we see, the tax bill has dropped a little bit by about 10-15% in total evaluation. But in regards to there being more people at the end, it's actually quite the opposite. Like right now on the stat, we have about 66,532 total faucet deposits. 55,000 of that is actually in anyone that actually has 0 to 100 drip. So very small new investor accounts. So it's important to remember that, and I went over that in the article, how the vast majority of the wealth is actually controlled from new investors right now. And, there's nothing to expect in regards to a big whale dump, especially with whale tax.
Right. So most of the money that is sitting in this liquidity pool, we'll call it, that is used to pay out people's 1%, you're saying that money is sitting, it's been sitting there, it sits there as drip, it isn't reinvested, and it is able to pay out 1% daily without, how long could it do this for?
Yeah, so in the article, I ran through a couple of scenarios regarding, that specific question. When it was sitting at about so let's assume that same 69% evaluation, in the article, we ran through some of the scenarios, how long it would take if all the main top 7 whales started just to dump every day. And, since they can only dump a certain amount, and with the tax, it was about 360, almost a year for the tax pool to even drain. But then after their tax was accounted for, the tax pool still, accumulated, hundreds of thousands of tokens still, residual that then would go to, pay out more dividends behind them. And then as well, all the drip that gets sold out of the tax pool is now available on liquidity pools. Someone else comes in, buys more drip, deposits it into the faucet, more gets locked away, the BNB price goes up and it allows for price appreciation.
Okay, so what do you mean the price of BNB goes up and that allows for price appreciation?
So not literally like so what I meant, so on the native dex contract, so just basically how liquidity pools work, and I think I did do a video explaining this more in depth, but you have that ratio, that 0.287, that really long number, that BNB per drip ratio, that is very specifically, it reflects in that liquidity pool, how many BNB tokens per drip there is. So, if you have people coming in to the network, buying drip, adding BNB to the liquidity pool in exchange for drip, redepositing that into the faucet, locking away the tax, the equivalent tax on that, and then allowing for more to be recirculated. So really, you're taking out 1-to-1, 100% of your drip and for BNB, but then only about 90% of it's going back. So it changes that value where every time that sort of thing happens, there's more BNB per drip ratio. And I know this can get really complicated. Liquidity pools are quite a new complex situation.
And can you clear this up where, like, if I go here on the fountain on this website, it says that the price of drip is 104.93, but if I go here on CoinMarketCap, it shows a different number. What's going on? It says $95. So which one is accurate?
Yeah, so the one on the drip community website, that is what we call I call it the index, the native exchange. That price right there is dependent on only those numbers and the drip supply of this native dex, right? The other numbers, like from CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, they pull from PancakeSwap, which is another vast liquidity pool that we have with drip. So the more that's where you get your slight price difference, and there's always been a price difference between the two, and there always will be. But they kind of complement each other to equalize each other out, because if one liquidity pool is cheaper than the other, people generally go over there to buy and sell their tokens, and in exchange, that price will go up, and they kind of level out.
Okay. And can I go to PancakeSwap and buy drip with BUSD or BNB and not pay a tax?
On the buy tax, there actually is that 10% transaction tax on anything. So the only place where you can buy drip non-taxed is on the fountain on the native dex.
Right here. Yep. So that's one reason why you would want to buy drip directly from this website rather than a PancakeSwap, for instance.
Yeah, because you end up getting more drip for your BNB because you're not paying any buy tax or transactions tax, I could say.
Okay. And when we deposit our money, when I deposit money in drip, where exactly does the money go? Like, because if everybody's just putting in money and then that money is used to pay someone else, isn't that a Ponzi scheme, basically?
Yeah, so I mean, on the surface, I've gotten that a lot of people have gotten that question.
Me too. Everybody asks me that.
Yeah, on the surface, and especially like around certain topics, you could see that and immediately, just cut to a Ponzi. But it's not. It doesn't work like that. It's not where someone's only putting all their stake in and that's specifically going to pay anyone else. It's not like the lower investors are paying to pay out the dividend of the top investors, because everything's being recirculated. And there's so much more to going in to explain this, but it's definitely nowhere near Ponzi. It's not a pyramid scheme. It just doesn't work like that. I mean, specifically a Ponzi, the definition, indicates any type of fraud where you're exchanging something in terms for service, but doesn't exist. That's right. Not the case with drip. Now, where your money goes, I mean, I touched on that a little bit earlier. The capital that's deposited into the faucet is taxed like usual, and the rest is recirculated throughout the ecosystem. So not so much reinvested, but really like proper term, recirculated. So the players in the faucet are rewarded with that 1% dividend for purchasing drip off the exchanges and depositing it, which further into the faucet, which further drives up price appreciation, like I mentioned earlier.
Right. And what impact would adding utility to drip have on this overall protocol? Wouldn't adding utility give drip a longer roadmap, or is it really utility doesn't matter? This thing is just sustainable.
So the basic mechanics behind drip are, yeah, highly sustainable. I mean, yeah, it could run without any other utility or anything, but the utilities that are coming that we have confirmed, and just generally in any asset, having new use cases drives up the price significantly, and especially in the case with drip where transactions are taxed, the more use cases you can provide yields further transactions, which again yields more tax, which again yields less in circulation, which drives the price.
Because so as taxes come in, it prolongs the ability to pay out that 1%, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, so the more that tax pool grows and grows, and it's
But
important to keep in mind, we're going to see the tax pool go up and down all the time, sell pressure, buy pressure. But is the more that tax pool goes up, is the more that's stored and locked away in the vault to pay out people's dividends.
right. So I wanted to ask you, you know, the question I get asked all the time, which is just flat out, how sustainable is drip? Are we talking a few months? Are we talking another year, a week, a weekend? How long is this thing able to sustain paying all these big guys that have been in it now? They're some of these guys are claiming like $100,000 a day, or it could even be more. So, how sustainable is this?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I get this one a lot as well, and it's one of the big reasons why I wrote the article entirely. So yeah, it's all outlined in the article as well in further detail for anyone that's interested. But you know, those models in there as well, it's important to remember. I've been getting this one a lot. It's probably good to touch on is that in the article I do express that 69% evaluation because it was written a few weeks ago, but those numbers and models are just as applicable to the current numbers as well. But yeah, regardless, like you asked, the sustainability, Drip uses that battle hardened tax system, and the model's already, 9-10 months. We're almost going to hit that year mark, which I think will be a significant milestone. It's proven to work very well. And a good example, I draw all the time, and I've drawn in other interviews is Hex, because Hex pays out their dividends in a similar fashion, but they pay it out through it's hyperinflationary. So new minted tokens, they have billions in circulation, but yet they've actually maintained a slightly stable price and good user growth. It hasn't certainly died off. Drip has an entire ecosystem behind it, certainly, and it's important to remember. And it does not use inflation, which alone stands strong to the sustainability argument in the network. Not in any non-inflationary protocol is going to be huge. So all in all, I'm not worried at all with Drip, and I think it has a very bright future.
When Forex talks about the price getting to be $3,000 to $5,000 in the future, do you have any estimate as to when that could be, or do you actually think he's just hyping it up and that would never happen?
So yeah, I get where he's coming from when he says that. Do I think that's gonna, like, personally? Do I think that's gonna happen anytime soon? No. That at least that's really dependent on use cases. I mean, yeah, it could happen tomorrow. It could happen next year. Personally, just going on right now, if use cases continue to grow and the TVL gets anywhere near any of the other top five competitors on, like, you can see in DApp Radar. I mean, yeah, it's possible to have that $3,000 to $5,000 drip. But personally, I think that's probably maybe 2-3 years away.
2 to 3 years away. I saw another article. Someone made a similar estimate. It's hard to predict pricing though, because when you add utility, you drive up buy pressure, and you can't predict utility until some of these things launch and you see, how attractive they are to an investor. So it's just speculation, isn't it? Just to, but
Yeah.
at least he wouldn't. I think the big thing people want to know is like he's not hyping it like, oh, we're going to the moon with drip. That's not why he said that. He's comparing market caps like and users with pancake swap and other things, and then reverse engineering and saying if we got a percentage of that, the price of drip would be $3,000 to $5,000, right?
Yeah, so that he's making that claim purely, and he's expressed this a lot, but purely on from a mathematical perspective. Just it's flat out. If drip were to, it's just math. Same how simple market cap works. If the TVL was to get anywhere near the top five, mathematically, the price of drip would have to be anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay. So my other question for you is, well, if you look here, I mean, this is not a sexy looking chart by any means. When you look at the short term price action of drip, and you can see that I'm pulling it up here. I shouldn't be on the 5 minute chart. It makes
Yeah,
it a lot.
I always look at the 1 day or the 12 hour.
Yeah, let's do this. We'll do 4 hour here. There we go. All right. You can see some major sell pressure from when it hit the top at around, I don't know, 171, at least here on Dex Screener, and it went down to where we're at now, 95. Why has this been a straight down movement? Like there hasn't been any, there's no fluctuations at all.
Yeah, we had that. I think we had that little level off around 120 for about a day or so, but that support line didn't hold, and I think we could maybe go into the 80s, but that's our next support line. But that's all dependent. But it's important to zoom out, and you can see we've had dips in the past, and
Right, like right
especially
here. This was at 82 and it went down to 53. This was at 89, it went down to 54. So I mean everybody's freaking out at this point, right? Because this is a pretty over a number of days here. Boom.
yeah, that was a rough time. And then I mean, even in the past, we had to drop from like when in the infancy of the project, way down the line. We had it went from like $30 and then tanked to like $6, and everyone thought the project was over. And then, well, we all know that the project's very much far from over. But yeah, I mean, I can get
Yeah.
there's a lot going on here as well, but I can get how the price, it can have people panicking. But it's important that we stay planted, don't trade on emotion. I've said that in my other interviews as well.
But what causes it? Like why is it such a steady slope down? Is it everybody that is just claiming more often rather than rehydrating?
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's also people pulling out liquidity to make it LP tokens for the animal farm and that. So it's important to remember that like driving this right now. I would also like to say this. Everyone, a few people at least that I've talked to, knew February was going to be a down month.
Hmm.
Because we're between use cases for drip, as we have the upcoming piggy bank on the way, and the loot NFT deal coming.
Well,
So
and
we're
you've
between.
got you've got $310 million of investors' money. I mean, not everybody in the world knows about Drip, by the way, everybody. So this much money that could have been went into Drip, right? If he would have marketed it and talked to this money could have went in Drip, but it's over here, right? And people that were bullish on Drip were like, man, I'm bullish on Drip. I want to be a part of the next best thing. I wish I would have got into Drip early. They're trying to get into Animal Farm early. And so this big bag right here, a part of that could have been in Drip, right? But it didn't. It Forex started a brand new thing.
Yeah, so that's really important as well. So Forex launched more, like he's trying to build an ecosystem here, and he launched the animal farm, the drip garden, and it's all expected and modeled that we'll generally see some draw away from older models with hype of new projects. But after all that dies down, we've always seen a drawback of attention to normal levels. And I mean, the drip garden, when that first going, we had a very positive reaction on the overall price of drip as well when that first got launched, and it's important to remember even right now, and especially Russia and Ukraine, that all the markets are pretty down big right now, and a lot of DeFi projects, like nodes and stuff like that are they're down like big, and here we are with Drip, slowly trying to find a support line, between use cases, and
Right.
overall for the year, I mean, $95, even $80 isn't bad, and it's important to remember that in the faucet, if you keep compounding your earnings, the price a year out really doesn't matter.
So explain that. The price a year out doesn't matter. If I go to the faucet and I choose, just to keep hydrate. You're saying that the power of hydrating compound interest will supersede the price drop um, to a significant level, or is it like it'll only, $5 here and there, or what? Like someone was saying in our Telegram, the price of Drip could be like $1, and over time you'd still be fine.
Yeah, so that's the great thing, and really why compound interest is so powerful is that, yeah, the price of Drip could be 1/5 of what it is now, and if you keep compounding and compounding and growing your position, you're still in profits. It's not like something with, like, you invest heavily in Bitcoin, the price tanks, you're at a pretty significant loss. But the price of Drip, let's say a year out, your position's growing exponentially, and then even after that first year, going into the second year, it's just year after year, month after month, your position gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you start to get max payout. So if you look at the max payout, it's 100,000 tokens, after tax, roughly. We could just assume that you could take out, let's say 50,000 tokens net after whale taxes,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
If
So let me explain that tell the newbies. The reason we are bullish on this project is, one, it isn't this APR that is fluctuating and it goes all the way up to, some days you can make 10% on your money a day, 50%. It's stuck at 1%. There's a whale tax, which means you cannot pull out a certain amount without getting a higher tax bracket. So that prolongs the sustainability of the protocol. And the max payout is set to 100,000 drip. So right here, I have 606 deposited. I could keep rehydrating, but eventually I will get to a point where it doesn't make any sense for me to rehydrate, right, Captain DeFi, because I will hit max payout at 100,000.
Yeah, so once you hit about 27,500 tokens in your deposits, that's when you want to just start claiming, because your max payout will be at 100K. And then if you just keep hydrating, your max payout's not getting any bigger and your claims are just going up. So, I mean, you can give everyone like a kind of example. If we take, your deposits of 606, if you're just to, hydrate every day, in a year from now, you could be sitting at, like 16,000 tokens. I mean, and
So that's
that's
still
paying off.
not max payout.
Yeah, that's still not there. I mean, you're close, but still not there. So I mean, if you could, like, roughly, we could say, let's say out of the 100,000 that you're allowed to claim total after taxes, whatever you hydrated, let's say you could take home 50,000 tokens, net, sell to BNB with. If the price of Drip was $20, which is significantly lower than what it has been on the forecast, that's still $1 million.
So you're
Which
saying,
is why I say that the price is not really applicable, because even if you keep, I mean, it matters, yes, but if you keep compounding, the price really doesn't play that big of a factor in this protocol.
yeah, so let's say, with my example of 600 drip, if I hydrated for 365 days, I want to know how I would get to that number. Would it just be a daily compound interest calculator?
I just made a spreadsheet for my calculations that just calculates 1% on everything. So yeah, like I
Let's say
have.
let's say like right now, we instead of $100 in drip, it's 100 drip, right? And you're
Yeah.
saying you're making 1% a day, and I hydrate for a year. Um, Daily reinvest, include weekends, yes. Yeah, this thing pays on weekends. It's saying that without any taxes, remember, that I would have an investment value of 3,778. right? Now that's drip. I started with 100 drip. I'd get this many drip. Is that accurate? I know I'm
I'm not sure particularly if that calculator is accurate. That's a bit off. In my spreadsheet, and there's more in depth spreadsheets than what I use. I mean, Kelly Snook made a spreadsheet, but just adding 1%, compound per day at 606 tokens in about a year, my spreadsheet could be wrong, but just reading, blatantly off here, I've got 16,405 tokens, which checks out in my mind.
Is
I
this
think DripFi
would this DripFi work if I did instead of like plus 30 days from now, and we just look at 360 days?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so my spreadsheet is actually, my spreadsheet's actually down from what it would be a little bit.
So you're saying like if I chose to hydrate for today for the next 365 days, then I want to start claiming, I would be claiming 147 drip per day, and I would have occurred 17,650 drip. So let's go back here, and you said okay, 17,000. Let's do this. So now you're saying because you compounded 17,500, we'll say, okay, drip is what I have, and the price goes to $50, 50% less than what it is today. What would happen? Times 50 equals, this is the value, right, of my drip. Am I wrong on that? The value of my drip is now 875,000.
That would be the value of your stake in its entirety, and then you could calculate what your daily claim would be.
Then
and,
I do times 1% per day. I'd be making $8,750 a day if the price is $50.
Yes. And then, I mean, you could look, it could go $25, $10. You're still making more than some people make on a normal job in a day. This is why I say the price having dips and ups and downs like any other asset is no reason to panic. The only thing I am concerned about and I ever look at is the sustainability of the project and use cases, which are extremely positive right now.
Yeah. And this is why everyone that freaks out about price kind of annoys people like you, because you're like, guys, look, if you hydrated for a year, and the price goes to $10, right? So in my case, and I hate my case because a lot of people don't have this much drip, right? Like I'm a YouTuber and I had a lot of referrals. But let's say, I wish there was a way to do a smaller amount, but so I've got 17,670, right? So let's do that. The price of drip is $10 a year from now. 17,650 is how much drip I have a year from now if I hydrate for the next 3. That's really easy to do. I come here every day and I just click hydrate, guys. Then 17,650 times $10 equals, guys, you would have $176,000. Well, you say, well, it's in
your stake.
Yeah, it's in my stake. Yeah, but you go, okay, but isn't it life changing if you got paid up 1% on $10 times 1% a day? Every day you make $1,765. This is if the price of drip a year from now is $10. The drip is almost a year old. Do you think? Yeah,
that's still 52,000. This is very rough numbers,
right.
And also not financial advice. It's still about $50,000 a month. Which is like almost double what some people make in a year. And I mean, it's important to see that. This is why, I'm not concerned about that. I mean, the price goes up. Good on it, because I mean that profitability is just even more through the roof. But it's not something to worry about.
Exactly. So for you, what is your strategy? Are you hydrating every day? What should people be doing? Like, should they hydrate every day, claim on the third? Like, everybody talks about their own strategy with drip. What's yours?
Yeah, so I mean, there is so many different strategies. And really what I also like about the network so much is that even if you start off smaller, through compound interest, if you're patient, you can get to the same marker that everyone else did. It's just going to take you a little longer, but everyone can get to the same finish line, no matter where they start with. My strategy, I'm compounding every day and I plan to do so for at least a few months and evaluate my position then. and then maybe go to a year mark. But yeah, I'm in it for the long haul, and I'm in no way do I have any doubt in my mind at this current moment in time. And if I ever did, I'd probably write an article on it. But yeah, I'm compounding every day.
And that's because the price is it's you need the price of drip to what be like for me. uh this is really enlightening, guys. If I hydrate for the next 365 days, let's pretend the price of drip goes to $1. I will have $1,767, right?
Yeah, but roughly around there, because
Right,
you have to account for tax and everything as well.
right. You're right. So um I'm far into profit still, even there. um, because wow, that's crazy. So with with drip, is there any other investments like that you're like? One of the things people ask is, what if someone copies this? And there's rumors of, I won't name drop them, but of other projects that have come out in the past or ones in the future that promise the same thing. Could that have a detrimental effect on drip?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, we already have a fork. It's baby drip. I mean, there's so much to unpack there. Do just straight up, I've been getting this question a lot, not to, put any shame on a project or anything, but just for everyone that is in my DMs asking me about baby drip. No, I'm not in baby drip. Okay. No,
Right, me
I
either.
have not researched it. I've heard certain things and rumors about Forex talking with them. He was down on them a little bit in his recent little voice chat, but yeah.
Yep.
So it's I
Yeah, he
don't think it
hasn't
would be
endorsed it.
I don't think it would be I don't think forks are in generally in the crypto space. They're not detrimental to a project, and I think if anything were to be potentially harmful to the drip ecosystem, I'm fairly confident in the dev team to address those concerns.
What do you think causes this reversal? What do you think? One, because you mentioned some TA, like you think that there's some support here at around the 88 or whatever the top here is. Um, do these tend to trade on TA, on Fibonacci's and things like that, or is this more of like, no, this is a protocol filled with a bunch of whales that are now claiming, and that's what's going to happen all the way down to $1?
Yeah, so I mean, it's with TA, especially with drip, it's a lot different from just regular coins because DeFi is a little newer and there's so much at play. But I mean, regularly, specifically right now, the price drop, we're not seeing a price drop due to lack of use or user growth, but it's there's a lot of sells going on right now, and the RSI index, our liquidity has been extremely oversold for the entire period of this drop. So I mean, we can see a pretty good indicator right there on what's going on, and for anyone that doesn't know, the RSI index, monitors liquidity, like sells and buys on a net scale, but whenever you're oversold, generally, you're favored to have a price appreciation, start at any time. We could go oversold for another few months. We could go oversold for another 2 days, and then we'll see the price start to go back up. There's so much that goes into that, but am I worried about the price drop? No.
Okay. Um, One of our Telegram group members asked me to ask you. Um, I'd like to know how the future partnerships with Forex is going to affect Drip. Example, the talk about being able to take a loan out on Drip. He talked about partnership possibly with Pancake Swap. How does that work, and what will that effect be, and in which ways?
Yeah, so those specifically starting off, the lending protocol, that if that can take off and get on its feet well, I'm extremely optimistic and waiting for that to come out. I think that will have an extremely positive outlook on Drip's price and the token value, because just generally in how any lending protocol works, you would have tokens being taken out of circulation for people, and it's that's extremely positive. The partnership, that was a little bit of a slip up. I think the way I heard it, I don't think Forex meant to say.
He kept saying the
On
largest provider on the Binance Smart Chain. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, which is, I mean, Pancake Swap. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah, you just go to DApp Radar, guys, and then you type in Binance Smart Chain and you let it load, and then bam, you're like, oh, maybe he's talking about Pancake Swap. And then he dropped the name.
yeah. So Pancake Swap is, yeah, that's a big thing. Um, and actually, really quick, since you're on DAP Radar, this is actually something I've been getting asked a lot as well, and probably in your
Yeah.
Telegram, in the Telegram.
Mm-hmm.
Drip got its category is went from DeFi and
Yes.
to high risk. Um,
Right.
that's that's got people panic for some reason.
Hey, but at
It's
least we're number
important.
one.
Yeah, at least we're number one. It's important. It's important to remember that actually just switched because DAP Radar actually started including all the core contracts of the garden and animal farm
Ah,
as part of Drip, which are
that's
higher risk protocols. Like that. That's a no question about it. The Drip Garden is significantly higher in risk than the faucet, so that reflects that category change. Do I think it's a little stupid? Yeah, I think they should reflect that separately. But yeah, just really quick, wanted to interject and just
well, even
no need
even
to
the
panic.
categories of like they should change the categories because like high risk that being in the same category as like BUSD machine or piggy bank like
That's
they
that's
it's
very true.
they're completely different and they don't have so they should change their whole category about longevity. Drip has been around a lot longer than BUSD machine. So it's just sad that they did that without explanation. Even this right here, Duck Network, is a bunch of bull. I invest in that. You can't get what they do is they make it so you can claim, but you can't sell. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
silliness.
that's and it's pretty funny because in DAP Radar's guidelines on what they define and use for anything high risk is a protocol that has not been around for more than 3 months and they don't expect to last 3 months. Well, Drip's been around for 10 months,
Yeah.
so
Let's start a petition. Let's start a petition. We're gonna
I
we're
know
gonna go
some
after them.
people that have actually sent this to their Telegram group. But anyway, so back to the Pancake Swap partnership. That's a pretty up in the air. I think that would happen pretty far behind the Loot NFT partnership, but that's huge. That would be pretty big.
Yeah, can you
Because
explain? Do you know much about the Loop partnership with Drip? Like, how would that work?
I've done a little bit of research on that, yeah, and Forex has given a decent amount of information. So, from my understanding, how it's going to work in the start is that there's going to be like a minting event and NFTs based on stake. There will actually be certificate of deposit style NFCs that you can get from Loot NFT that will actually pay out like a certificate of deposit dividend using, excuse me, the faucet mechanics, which would almost be like using NFTs as like a actual physical, you know, meta kind of entity for an actual certificate of deposit using Drip as the back end mechanics
Yeah.
to power it.
Yeah, it's like instead of me coming here every day and being looking at this, I could just be like turn this into some NFT that's worth um like I have an NFT and in the background it's paying me 1%. So, would you spend a little bit more for that NFT than you would just some other regular NFT?
Yeah, so those specific, that hasn't really been spoken about or really revealed. I would So far, all we really know, or that I know, is that there's going to be a minting event based on your stake, and you'll have a chance to get a common and uncommon or a rare, and each one has its own properties. So I think there's a lot still to be unveiled with that partnership, but I think it's going to bring pretty good utility. But the pancake swap and the lending
Yeah, let's talk about
partnership
that.
is what
What
is
would
what
that
has me excited.
Okay, so why are you excited? Please explain what that would look like. And I know you're not Forex, but you can speculate.
Yeah, so speculating, I think they would probably end up using Pancake Swap as a partner to power either the lending protocol or get the token just generally listed on Pancake Swap in its entirety. And then just that pure, Pancake Swap has a ton of credit. It's number one on chain, and I think bringing Drip any association or partnership with that would drive user growth through the roof. All in
So
speculation, of course.
what would a partnership look like? Because you're like, well, they get their coin on there. Well, I mean, look at all these coins on here. That Nerve Finance, TKO, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that aspect, but I think a partnership would probably include any advertisement, and then probably I think Forex has dropped this a little bit using Drip as a what you call it, like opening up the exchange, like the DEX to other tokens, which I think would probably use PancakeSwap for that. But I mean, all those other tokens you see listed on PancakeSwap aren't pulling 30,000 something users in a month, and are growing exponentially, and already have 4 other projects in the ecosystem that are just taking off.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of speculation there. I can more so we have a lot more information on the Loot NFT deal than the PancakeSwap deal. That's definitely something to wait to come in the future.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that there are developments with these two major partnerships is going to draw more eyeballs to Drip and drive more people to join. Now, which again, guys, is not doesn't we're not only relying on new money for the sustainability. You mentioned earlier, and I want to come back to it, how long, if no new members come into Drip, let's go to that route. What happens to the faucet right here?
Yeah, so let's say no new members. Like, I outlined this a fair amount in the article, but
Yes, which is linked in the description.
If nobody, if okay, so we'll assume nobody kept coming into Drip, and we'll assume the tax system is still running for this sake, because it would be in in any real life scenario. But if you didn't see any new user growth, I mean, your dividends of everything would still very much be able to be used based on use cases. That's why the tax pool is there, and this is what makes Drip. Coming back to a lot of people think it's this question came up a lot in its infancy. Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme, is that even if the tax pool were to run dry, there's still that back end protocol within the system that would mint more tokens to pay out everyone's dividends. Now, that would definitely inflate the price a little bit, but it's still does not reliant at all on new user growth, or newer investors paying out the older and rewarding older investors that have already been in the protocol longer than them. It's purely solely self-dependent.
So there you go. And I just, my last question for you was simply, you are, as someone who works in cryptocurrency, you see a lot of projects. Would you recommend Drip to your own mother?
Yeah, so I mean, I actually have a wallet for for that
Look at
already
this.
set up. Yeah, that's already going.
That's
That
awesome.
was like that was really early. Yeah, I mean, it's not financial advice, but I would recommend anyone that's into DeFi and wants to diversify into anything. I think Drip's a pretty safe bet, and I think it's got a very bright future.
Do you think Drip and so that was my last question, but do you think Drip has a future if we are in a sustained bear market, which we find ourselves in with cryptocurrency, or is it game over?
I think honestly, we've actually tend to see, and anyone that's really monitored Drip in the past, I mean, Drip actually performs almost better in a bear market because of how DeFi works and how it ends up working. Is that when Bitcoin and all these coins start to crash, and you see like just a couple months ago, we were starting to see Bitcoin crash, heavily, and everything was looking to go to a bearish market, and then Drip was actually gaining value, pretty heavily, and we hit that all-time high not even that long ago. And I think any bear market where investors can see a token gaining value or holding steady and not tanking, drives value to the project. People shade away from Bitcoin or whatever token they're in, and move into the DeFi space because they can see the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when people say, well, I don't even know who Forex is. And I'm like, well, I don't even know who the founder of Bitcoin is. Maybe Bitcoin
Yeah.
should just be, if I don't know who the founder of Bitcoin is, it's probably useless. Uh, but, anyways, that's one of the things I'll hear about. But, I mean, guys, the thing with Forex is there's so many AMAs. You can hear him. You can tell whether he's fake, whether he's shady. This isn't a rug pull. Like, how confident are you? Let me ask you, because this interview is not about my opinions. I give them every day. How confident are you that if you're investing in Drip or Animal Farm, you're not going to get rug pulled like all these other freaking projects?
Yeah, I mean, I am highly confident that's not going to happen. And you can, since everything's on chain and it's been audited. Animal Farm even had Paladin audit. Drip's been audited, the code. Um, Rug Doc, I don't think has gotten into Drip because they said it was such a large network that they just weren't able to do it at the time. But yeah, there's very little to any, like, Forex doesn't really profit on Drip at all. It's not the wallet holdings and the core contracts are not. He has no access to rug pull them. And I mean, just generally, I think Trip is the most anti. I use this a lot, anti-ruggable, protocol that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear, man. I mean, hopefully in this interview, you guys have picked up on just his confidence, and I really appreciate your time to write these articles, to add value to the community. You added value in our Telegram, and tell everyone where else they can find you, and maybe if they have questions for you after this interview, where can they find you and where can they ask their questions?
Yeah, so I started a little Discord server. I think there's probably only about 80 of us, but it's a nice little group. I encourage anyone to join. Any questions, anything Drip. I pop in there as much as I can, and there's also a few other pretty knowledgeable community members in there to answer any questions. And if you have any direct questions, I'm shoot me a DM through the Discord server, whatever. And so far I've been able to answer every single one that I've got.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. I mean, I'm leaving here more bullish, aren't you? And this is why we do these projects, is because there's so many people that like to troll and leave comments. How easy is it to just say, this is a Ponzi, without really understanding the longevity of the protocol, the new developments that are on the horizon. Why would people want to invest their money? Why do people want to make 1%? There's a lot going on for Drip, for Animal Farm, and the whole ecosystem as a whole. So don't feel like you're late. Don't feel like you're early. Just get in with your risk capital, because, again, nothing's guaranteed in life. But this is what Captain DeFi is doing. He even has a wallet for his mother. And yeah, I'm in it pretty deep too. And hopefully you found value in this. Go ahead and like it, subscribe, share it. Share it in your Telegram groups, your Drip community. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one, where we cover everything Drip, everything Animal Farm, and we bring you the best content right here on the Drip Farm channel. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.